Well, Scott Dixon proved once again that he is the fastest man here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pole position for the second year in a row, but this year was exceptional, historic, and some may even say a track record, but we need to put an asterisk next to that, of course. A huge day here, a new format as qualifications reach its second and conclusive day today. So, obviously, we left you yesterday with Rinus VeeKay running the fastest single lap in Indianapolis history since 1996 at 234.7. And we weren't really expecting that was going to be any kind of an average speed. Obviously, he fell off to around 233 miles per hour. I think it was 233 and a half on his average. But however, we get to today, and Scott Dixon knocks down a 234 mile per hour lap, which sets and breaks a pole position track record here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And there's a lot of people confused about that, because when I said Scott Dixon is the fastest pole sitter in Indianapolis 500 history, a lot of people go, wait, whoa. The track record is 236 and it's Arie Luyendyk. Yes. But through a situation that was much more complicated than the way I'm going to make it out to be, circumstances prevented Arie Luyendyk from having an official qualifying attempt on the first day of qualifications back in 1996. And therefore, when Arie Luyendyk came back here the very next day, despite running 236 miles per hour, he was only quick enough to start 21st because first day qualifiers had priority. It was kind of a reverse of what we have now, where the fastest cars are the cars on the first day qualify, and then they're ahead in the group, and then everybody else behind qualifies and locks in their positions after that. Nowadays, everyone locks in their positions from 33rd to 13th, and then you have the top group kind of go. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't, because it's Indy 500 qualifying, and it's never made sense. That's a tradition here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But on a serious note, Scott Dixon, I should say, broke a record that was held by the late Scott Brayton. In 1996, Scott Brayton qualified on the pole position in his Lola Menard, a 95 model, at 233.7 miles per hour. That mark has stood until today, and of course, unfortunately, Scott Brayton never actually got to benefit from that pole position. He was killed in practice the week before the 1996 Indianapolis 500. He gave up his pole position, obviously, to Tony Stewart. His car was started 33rd and last position by Danny Ungaius, who also we lost this year. But Scott Dixon, interesting parallel between he and Brayton. Dixon qualified on the pole in 2021, qualified on the pole in 2022. Scott Brayton qualified in the pole in 1995 and obviously also in 1996. And both Scott Dixon and Scott Brayton in 1996 and 2022 respectively set pole speed track records. It's also the fastest front row in history, which is pretty exceptional, again knocking off 1996 in the record books. And there's a 7 mile per hour spread from the fastest qualifier, Scott Dixon, to the slowest qualifier, Jack Harvey. Now, if you consider that Stephen Wilson did not qualify, there's a 234 mile per hour spread from the fastest to the slowest. But here's the front row for the Indianapolis 500 as determined through 2 rounds of qualifying today, the Fast 12 and then the Fast 6. Scott Dixon at 234.046 miles per hour. That's a new track record for the pole position, but again, not an outright speed record because of Arie Luyendyk. Alex Palou, his teammate, that car looks extremely consistent at 233.4 miles an hour. And on the outside is Rocket Rinus VeeKay, Dixon and Palou starting in the same positions on the grid that they started last year. VeeKay at 233.3 miles an hour. That's a lot of threes. But I'll tell you what, I think Rinus is going to be so difficult on race day. He's going to be a challenger to that Ganassi Armada. Then we go into the other 3 rows that we qualified today. The remainder of the Fast 6 was Ed Carpenter at 233.0 miles an hour. The final car in the field at 233, or in that 233 bracket. Marcus Ericsson, who Nick Yeoman pointed out as a potential dark horse, he certainly is at 232.7 in the middle of row 2. Tony Kanaan on the outside at 232.3. 5 Ganassi cars out of the 6 in the Fast 12. Pato O'Ward, who was provisionally second on the grid yesterday, ultimately is only able to scrape inside of row 3. His teammate Felix Rosenquist alongside at 232.1. Romain Grosjean will start his first Indianapolis 500 from the outside of row number 3 at 231.9 miles an hour. Takuma Sato, who looked so fast throughout the entire week, ultimately scrubbed off some speed, 231.6, but I think Sato, again, has a very, very strong race car on race day. Watch for him to move up from that position. Will Power just looked very, very uncomfortable on his qualifying run today at 231.5. And Jimmy the Juggernaut Johnson, his first Indianapolis 500, he was on row 2 yesterday. He's fallen back to the outside of row number 4, slowest qualifier today in the Fast 12, 231.264, but his save today, I think, had everybody talking. And remember how strong he was at Texas. I think he's absolutely a threat to compete for the win on next Sunday. So you've heard me say Fast 12, Fast 6 a lot, and it was a big format change this year, mainly because they didn't have enough entries to have a proper bump day at the back of the field. To have 2 rounds of pole qualifying, essentially kind of merging what we have seen in the past with the road course racing, where you have the Fast 12 that goes into the Fast 6, and the Fast 6 determines the pole position. The format presents a lot of risk, I have to say. I mean, certainly when you see the cars going 234 miles an hour on multiple runs throughout the day, you raise that risk factor. And thankfully, there weren't any major accidents or wall contacts today. And really, there haven't been any major wall contacts this week, which has been just absolutely spectacular. But that also makes me a bit nervous for Monday, Friday, and then the race, because we're definitely due at this point. I think it's a decent format. I mean, I think the big problem I have with all of the qualifying formats throughout the years is that it doesn't seem like they've been able to settle on anything. A lot of times it's just you have the Fast 9, and then you have a regular bump day, and the Fast 9 takes place on pole day. Then they move pole day to the last day, and then they mix it in with bump day, and there's all this sort of different things. And now you have where you have the first day of qualifying, especially when you don't have more than 33 cars. It's just kind of a fill the Fast 12 day, and then you go into this day. I wish they would just pick a format and stick to it, and then just make that the qualifying format. But it seems like the way things are right now, with how they change so rapidly, one year you have 36 cars, and then one year you're struggling to get 33. They're trying really hard to add excitement to the format, and I get that, and I understand that, and I certainly think today's format was very, very exciting from a fan perspective. But I guess the question I have is, why do we need 2 rounds of qualifying? It almost felt like the Fast 12 was enough. I don't know, it's weird. I'll have to see this format play out a couple of years if they do indeed, and that's of course the problem, if they do keep it going for more than 1 year, because I think there's potential here, and certainly it was the cherry on top to have Scott Dixon set a pole position track record here today, because that really, when he was coming around on the last lap, I really started thinking about it, and I went, this is extremely historic. This is not something that has happened here in 26 years, and the last person who did it is obviously no longer with us, and in fact didn't even survive the month of May. And the 1996 Indy 500, you can tell by my jacket. I mean, it's a very important race to me. I know it was an important race for all the wrong reasons in the history of the sport, but to see some of these records fall, the fastest front row, the fastest pole sitter, I don't think it's the fastest field, just for the reason that Stephen Wilson is in the field at 0.00 miles an hour. Had he qualified, this would be the fastest field in history, but I think you've got an asterisk next to the field this time. But 96 held all those records for a very long time, those speed records that we thought would never fall. And then you start to think, again, like I mentioned yesterday, If we're at 234 miles an hour this year, and the pole speed jumped from 2 miles an hour last year, in fact, Scott Dixon was almost 3 miles an hour faster than his pole speed last year at points, is Ari's record all of a sudden up for grabs? We'll have to see. That'll be a discussion point for next year. Obviously, we have a lot more Indianapolis 500 coverage to go. Qualifying really is funny to talk about it this way, but the qualifying kind of is back to where it used to be, where it's kind of the midway point, not necessarily like the climax before we really get into the Indianapolis 500. We still have 2 practice sessions to go. We have one tomorrow on the Monday practice session, as they call it, which really will be the first time we see these cars in true race conditions. Everybody, after the rain out, seemed to jump all the way to qualifying simulations, so we really haven't seen a lot of traffic running due to the weather. It seems like it'll be a nice enough day tomorrow where we're going to see the teams really go for it. And then, of course, on Carburation Day, that's going to be the last prep for the Indianapolis 500. That's going to be a crazy day as well. But a historic day here at the Indianapolis 500, a very fast day today, and Scott Dixon broke a record that has stood since 1996, and we were here to witness it. Thank you guys so much for watching. More coverage coming tomorrow from the Monday practice session. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.